I have a friend that plays Call of Duty with me on a regular basis. He's a huge gun nerd. He loves it. He particularly likes the AK. He takes his AK and brings it to the range with all of his attachments on it. And he's disappointed when he mimics that same gun that he has in real life in the game. This video is going to be all about breaking down the different attachments that the game provides to you and what you can do to make the guns fit your play style and feel good to you. Now the thing is, there are two different main play styles in the game. One's really, or in the culture of Call of Duty, right? One's really fast paced and it's all about aim down sight speed and running around really quickly, which is why a lot of players that criticize this game don't like it, because that's not how real gunplay should work, right? But that's the Call of Duty culture, just gonna have to deal with it. The other one is the more camping play style, right, that the Call of Duty players hate or use a lot. It's unclear, right? So it's more sitting in the back, using long range and hitting people from a distance, playing more tactical even so. So what we're going to start off with now is going to break down all the different attachments effects and what attachments provide those effects. Then we're going to further break down the two main play styles of Call of Duty culture. Then we're going to try and use examples of those two main play styles in game. Let's just jump right into it then. First we're going to break down the attachment effects and different attachments. Taking a look at the AK, there's a bunch of different places you can edit on every single gun. And as you're leveling up different guns, these different categories are going to show up as you level up that gun. For example, when you just start it with the AK, you might not have access to underbarrel attachments yet, or maybe you won't have access to changing the stock or rear grip on it. So, let's go ahead and right into it. A good place to start, I believe, would be Recoil Stabilization. Recoil Stabilization is best addressed with two main attachments, right? For this case, we're going to take a look at the muzzle brake. The muzzle brake changes your recoil pattern in a way from left to right. Now I should have a video on screen here showing it as well. Alright, so if you have your gun maxed out for recoil stabilization, it's going to reduce a lot of back and forth recoil, left to right recoil, versus up and down recoil. So some things you can do to change that recoil stabilization is muzzle brake, using the commando foregrip, or actually the tactical foregrip is better at doing it, and some other various attachments on here. But those are the two main ones you can do to change your recoil stabilization if you find that your gun has a problem with that. Guns like the FAL or the, what's that gun called? The EBR-14 has a lot of horizontal recoil problems. So you might want to put some of those attachments on it if you feel that that's what your gun wants to do. Otherwise, counter to that would be recoil control. There's a lot more attachments that could fix recoil control. For example, the compensator is probably the #1 recoil control reducer. Right, this recoil control is vertical recoil again. So it's going to make it so you don't have to pull your mouse down or pull down your analog stick as much in order to counter the effects of recoil. Some guns you're definitely going to really need that. So longer barrels do that really well. Merc foregrips or Ranger foregrips make it so it's easier to control recoil. There's the stippled grip tape on pretty much every gun does a pretty good job of doing that. Otherwise, I don't think there's much else. Some stocks will do it, right? At least for the AK, I don't think there's any stocks that help with recoil control. But if you want a good recoil control build, this is what you're kind of looking for. Next would be damage range. So damage range is how many bullets required to kill someone. Oh, that's a bad description. So damage range, no matter how far you are away from your target, in Call of Duty, the bullet will eventually hit them. But as it travels through the air, the more time it's in the air, the less damage it does when it hits its target. If you get that if you change the damage range, you have it so the bullet will be doing more damage encounter for how long it's sitting in the air for. So that one isn't as used as often, but bullet velocity is used a lot as well. Is more used instead of damage range. Bullet velocity is the same thing, but it makes the gun bullet moving faster. It's better used on sniper rifles. Let's say you're using the Dragunov. It's actually a better description than the EX50. If you're having if you want your bullet to move faster, on that you do things like longer barrels or even monolithic suppressors. Yeah, that's damage range, not bullet velocity. But the point is, you want your bullet moving as fast as possible. So if someone's moving from one side of a hallway to the other side of the hallway, you can hit them with just one bullet, and you don't have to have as fast of a reaction time or have to lead the target as much. Rather situational one, but it's good on sniper rifles like so. Sniper rifles, marksman rifles, however. When it comes to the Call of Duty culture, again, or I haven't mentioned this yet, but this video is not about the meta. We're not going to be discussing that as much, but we'll talk about it a little bit, but it's not the focus of the video, right? Aim down sight speed's the main thing that people use to is one of the better statistics in the game. Reducing the gun's aim down sight speed is making it as small as possible. Aim down sight speed is how long it takes, whether it be in seconds or milliseconds, to get it from your hip all the way up down to your sight. So I have a video on screen as well for this one. So changing the aim down sight speed of the AK would be to make that barrel as short as possible. Would be to add a tack laser onto it, because that increases aim down sight speed. This actually reduces aim down sight speed a little bit, having the magazine smaller. Removing the stock is super helpful for reducing aim down sight speed. In fact, if you take the stock off the PKM doesn't have a whole lot of recoil problems. You can take the stock off and you still have some great ADS speed. But the vast majority of optics is going to affect your aim down sight speed in some way or another, especially sniper scope, so I would avoid that. The different suppressors won't be affecting it in a negative way, but if you want to use a suppressor and not affect your aim down sight speed, use a lightweight one that doesn't affect it nearly as much as like a monolithic or a tactical one. Same goes for stable grip tape as well. This would be really fast aim down sight speed. Aiming stability, on the other hand, is a bit different. Aiming stability is when you're aiming down sight, and let's say you're moving left to right while still aiming down sight, like the video is showing. That's how much your target or your irons or your sight will be bouncing up and down as you move. Making aiming stability better would be using tactical foregrip or using, I don't quite remember. It's a very niche stat, right? But as you can see in the video, some stats will make the aiming stability better. Tactical laser is a good one for that if you first care about aiming stability. Otherwise, there's aim walking movement speed, which is best described in the skeleton stock. Aim walking movement speed is when you're aiming down sight and you're walking forward, you're walking faster. Movement speed in general, just taking off the stock of the gun, will make you move faster while holding the gun. And lastly, the only one I wanted to really bring up besides some of the other ones was fire rate. So if we go to the M4, the M4 has a brilliant attachment called the 9mm para. This reduces the amount of damage your gun will be doing, but it's increasing the fire rate incredibly and making it a lot easier to handle the gun. So now we're going to try and take a gun and we're going to make it fit into either one of the two play styles. First, let's make a gun that's all about the second play style, which is camping, sitting in the back, and long range stuff. So a gun that I think would be really good to describe that would be the Scar. So what I suggest you do before you build your gun is to take your gun into a game with no attachments on it and see what are its strengths and its weaknesses. The thing is with the Scar, it's a much more sit and slow gun than it is a fast and quick one like the M4 or maybe a submachine gun. So the first thing I'm noticing about that is about this gun, without even touching the controls at all, is the iron sights. The iron sights I have a big problem with. You may be different, but these iron sights I think are bad. Actually, second thought, these iron sights are better than the majority of SCARs in other games are. Normally it looks like you're aiming through a brick. Not down a brick, through a brick. But this game's SCAR seems like they've figured it out a little bit when it comes to SCAR iron sights. Same goes for the FAL. The FAL iron sights are pretty bad. Now note how long it takes to aim down sights here. It's pretty quick for default, but it can be much faster, but we don't care about that for this next build. Sprinting around with it, it's a bit hard to move this thing around. Also, it has 20 rounds in the magazine. It doesn't have 30 like the other guns do. Recoil is really acceptable. Reload speed is really slow. But let's go ahead and make this gun as campy as possible. So if we wanted to make the SCAR as long range and campy as possible, we'd do a bunch of things. So this is one end of the spectrum, right? So there's some detachments we can do to make it a bit more running around and a bit more sitting in the back. But we're going to try and get all the way one side of the spectrum as possible. And that's slowing down sight speed, long range, high damage, and a bunch of ammo. So, for the SCAR, I would probably be torn between the monolithic suppressor and the compensator. Reason why I'm thinking monolithic suppressor is, one, it increases your damage range, and if you're sitting in the back and you don't want to be noticed as much, you're using sound suppression. So you could take yourself away from the hearing of some people in the game. But for this situation, we're going to put the compensator on. The barrel, we want to make it as long as possible. We don't care about aim down sight speed. We're trying to sit in the back and plug away at people. Lasers, we want to avoid as much as possible, because the only laser we could consider using is the 1 megawatt one. And that's because it has a red laser, not a green one. The green lasers are visible to enemies, and it'll make it easier for them to see, and it's generally pretty useless to us. This one we don't want to be using anyways, because it's all about hipfire accuracy, and we're aiming down sights anyway, so no lasers for us. Optics, the SCAR H's optics are pretty shit. So I personally like the VLK3X. I'll show you that in a minute. Ammunition will probably increase it to 30 rounds. I'm going to be torn between using the Merc foregrip or the Ranger foregrip. Where is it? Does one not have a Ranger foregrip? Okay, Merc foregrip it is. And make that stock as recoil control as possible. We're all about recoil control here. So let's go with the rubberized grip tape. Nothing I want to get rid of here, so we're not using that yet. So let's go ahead and hop into game and try and use this in a situation. So this is what the gun looks like in game. Let's go ahead and try and see what the differences are here. The thing is about the second play style, or the far end of the spectrum, is that you're going to be camping in the back more often. You don't care about idiot speed, and you're really good at aiming down thin hallways. That's why I chose this map, Crash. Crash has a lot of really thin hallways you're aiming down. Notice how little the recoil is. It's really easy to control how much it is. How many bullets we have. The reload speed is a little bit slower than before, but it's not that big of a deal. The main thing we're worrying about here is recoil control and sitting in it's recoil control. Now let's go ahead and make the gun as fast as possible. Now the SCAR isn't as good as being to the other end of the spectrum, the fast and aim down sight speed side of the spectrum, but let's see if we can't make it anyways. So here's what I've done with the SCAR this time. Let's take a look at the exact attachments. We took the barrel, we made it much shorter by adding the CQC Pro, making that barrel really short. We added stipple grip tape, so the aim down sight speed's a little bit reduced. We added a collapsible stock, so the movement speed's increased and the aim down sight speed is reduced. Same goes for the tack laser, aim down sight speed reduced, and I also put on sleight of hand, so you can reload a little bit faster since this gun has a bit of a reload speed problem. Now it's much faster. I'm already noticing you're moving a lot quicker with this gun. It's a lot easier to control. The aim down sight speed's really good. Notice the difference in the recoil we have. Recoil is a lot harder to control, but you don't need it as much because you're going to be in their grill. If we wanted to take this gun away from the side of the spectrum, we can add a couple things to change it up. What I would do is I would go somewhere in the middle of the road when it comes to barrel length. So the only other option we have is the 17.2 inches. I would then remove the stippled grip tape because it has the least effect on our performance here, and add a Merc foregrip, not the other foregrip, not the operator foregrip. We want to get in there and have some more control of the recoil. So let's see what this looks like. So we added some more aim down sight speed. So it takes a little bit longer to aim down sight, but it's still pretty okay. And the recoil is a lot easier to control. We still kept sleight of hand, but this is what we've got. So now let's go ahead and take these guns into game and see how they perform against real players. Alright, so I went ahead and recreated the two guns that we just looked over in public matches. We have our Scar. It may look a little bit different because I had the trader skin on it. I just like the way it looks. And we made our short range one that we went over with in the other game. Let's go ahead and hop into a game. I particularly like Hardpoint. And let's see how they work out. I've taken both guns into game, and I've recorded just one game mode using both classes, or both guns. So not changing much to class here, alright. I've making a recording of both videos, just the first game, and see how it went. And first we're going to start off with the long range sitting in the back Scar. So I take the recording, and I have the recording full screen on my screen, and I have it just so I can hit spacebar and move the game along like this. So we're just going to go ahead and watch it and comment over it. We can skip forward to the parts that no one needs to see, like me dying. And here we go. So this gun is slow aim down sight speed, so it takes longer to get from the hip to the aim down sight. And I'm trying to play on the far end of the spectrum, so sitting in the back and not trying to run up into the hard point and get the deal. What this gun's mostly about in terms of attachments is reducing the amount of recoil that you have. Vertical and horizontal. This gun has more of a problem with vertical recoil, so we didn't touch horizontal. This is how it's going to end up going.
He's right there. Good.
When you camp in this game, players tend to yell. They tend to get angry. So when you, at least in this particular game mode, the other team's a bit more vocal. You'll hear them complain about me camping. It's just what they do in Call of Duty. I'm spending a lot of my time just sitting in the back and plugging away at people. What's great about the recoil control is that I'm much more reliable at longer ranges, so I can be effective in the majority of ranges except for at close. And you'll see that comparison abruptly clear in the next gun we're going to cover. So this is where this gun starts to be hindered a bit, because I find myself right on the hard point, and what people end up keep doing is they keep running up to my right, and I have to notice them on the mini-map and react to them quickly. If they weren't trying to quickscope me there, I probably would have died. But anyone that's coming out in front of me, that's appearing over this barricade, I can take care of pretty easy. It's really hard to take care of people that are really close to you. You really have to use the unreliable hip fire spread, or you have to try and aim down sight quickly and take care of them, which you can usually remedy by just going prone as quickly as possible. Yet they have redirectors thing. But you just do so much damage down range, you don't have to worry about aiming down sight as much because you already aimed down sight, playing the way you are. Oh, artifacting. Holy cow. If anyone's holding this hard point in the future, this spot's actually pretty good. But the thing is, I reloaded there too quickly and jumped up before I finished reloading. you know, just casually drop shotting all over the place. Oh, yeah, here's a glitch. Normally you have 5 seconds of out of the map time, but either they removed it or there's something wrong with it depending on how much damage you've taken, or how much time you get spent outside the map. Nice quad feed with that dude's Predator missile, good for him. Yeah, that guy was far too close for me to handle, so I wasn't willing to try and aim down sight to take care of him. You have to spray just like that in order to get rid of him. I play hardpoint a lot, so this is one of my favorite spots I always kind of find myself in on this map. Maybe we could go over good spots to sit in for particular hardpoints on particular maps for this particular game mode, because I do play a lot of hardpoint. It's all about that long range stuff. I shouldn't have got that kill. Same situation I found myself in before. I'm trying to hit this guy. Different guy there. It's a hard shot to make. Shouldn't have got that kill either. I was very lucky with the spray pattern. I'm limited there. I have to use it. I'm not going to try and aim down sight speed if that guy's too close to me like that. 1, 2. That was lucky. I missed a lot there. Guy just gave up on me. Oh, here's his friend. Okay. Let this go down there. That's actually going to end up doing a little bit of work, but we're focusing on my gun. And that's the gameplay of the long range one. Let's jump into a little bit longer game of me using the short range SCAR. Okay, now we're going to play the next game mode with a different gun. We're going to play it with our short range SCAR, our other side of the spectrum SCAR, as the former gun we just used. This gun's really good at aim down sight speed, this gun's really good at running around, but it also has a little bit of recoil control, so just so it stays away from the spectrum, right? But the more important part is the shorter barrel, the short stock, the tack laser, and the sleight of hand. The Merc foregrip just helps a little bit with extra stuff, but those 4 attachments are making this gun different than its default form. I'm trying to play to the other side of the spectrum this time. We're doing more running. We're going to doing more aim down sighting. We're doing more in their face combat. We're trying to get up in their grill. But the problem is this time is that the gun jumps around a whole bunch. And it's hard to react fast enough when you're that close to them. Now, I am biased a little bit because this is the opposite of my natural gameplay, game style. I like to spend more time in the back, so I'm not as good as it as other players would be. But this is what I can do. Going for the general flank, as you should be doing if you're playing in this game mode. And noticing it's really hard for me to hit people from long range, but close people just like that are really easy to get rid of. The gun's super easy to control at the hip now. Before it wasn't as much. It's very reactive, it's very... That's pretty good, that was pretty cool. You gotta admit that was pretty cool. What's really nice is the sleight of hand that I put on this class. I wasn't too sure about the sleight of hand to start, but it's proven very useful. Because the magazine is so small, and the reload speed on this gun is at default pretty slow, being able to reload at double the speed is proven infinitely valuable. Now, if I didn't suck as much, maybe these people that are at mid-range I could get rid of. But it goes to show just what the attachments can do for you. yes, being good at aiming and yes, having good game sense is really helpful in Call of Duty. But in this Call of Duty in particular, the attachments play a huge role as well. Maybe you do want to look up a guide just for the meta and see like what's the best attachments for this gun. Maybe that is for you, but this video is more about ignore the meta, do what feels good for you. Well, since this video is so long, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here, but I hope you guys like this video. This is for me to make for fun. I'm not trying to get famous off this video. The thing is, I want to be a teacher and I want to practice trying to teach things to people over a video format like this. And what better time to start practicing doing that is when I'm forced into quarantine. So anyways, thanks for watching and have a nice quarantine.